So what is the Dalcroze method? What is this approach? What is Dalcroze Eurythmics? It's a question that's really difficult to explain in words. It's very experiential and it makes it difficult to summarize it in this kind of setting. Usually, though, I'll start with a little bit of the history. So the word Dalcroze, we're talking about a person, Emile Jacques Dalcroze. This was a teacher, a musician, a pedagogue in the early part of the 20th century, in the late part of the 19th century, who was teaching in Switzerland and a little bit in Germany. And he intuited something pretty profound at this time. It was that that movement and music were linked. And if you trained musicians in movement, it improved their natural feel for music and their musical instincts. I think that history is a really important and instructive way to understand the method. Dalcroze wanted his musicians to play with more feeling. And that word is what comes up again and again in our work, feeling. In fact, I think it's primarily what we're focusing on, the musical feeling. If you watch a Dalcroze class, you're likely to think that it resembles a dance class, although you would be quite unimpressed by the standards of a dance class. You might think, this is a pretty bad dance class. And that's true because the goals of the class are different. In dance, you might be concerned with how things look, how synchronized they are, the technique of how the toe is pointed, these fine skills on the way things are presented. But in Dalcroze movement, we're not so worried about the way it looks. We're more concerned about the way it feels. And in my classes, if I ask a question and you're not sure what the answer is, if you can somehow incorporate the word feeling into your answer, you're probably on the right track. So if you're watching a class and you're not sure what's happening, a lot of the time what's going on is that the teacher is trying to lead the class to capturing musical sensations in their body, in a feeling. And so, there's some ways that we could do this. For instance, I think one easy way to think about musical movement is to think about just clapping. Okay, so clapping is a very common tool that music teachers will use to teach rhythm. So if I said to you, clap a quarter note, just one single quarter note, what would you do? Maybe just like, okay, very nice, good. Okay, how about if I said, though, to clap a whole note? Okay, a whole note, what would that be? Well, is that also a whole note? Was it different? No. Well, we can change the gesture. For instance, we could clap the whole note and then we could hold it, sustain that gesture for the remaining beats. So, and I wonder if I wanted that whole note to have a crescendo, right? Or if I wanted it to diminuendo. Right? So the way I do the gesture, in my mind, I am hearing that note and I'm actually feeling what it feels like to hold out the duration of that note, right? After all, the clap is just the beginning of the note. We have to do something through the rest of the note. Makes a lot of sense. Another way I think about it is a phrase that we often use in Dalcroze Rhythmics is the body is your instrument, right? And just like any other instrument, you practice it, you practice techniques, you learn how to successfully execute the basics before you move up into more advanced musical techniques. And this is the same thing. The way we teach Eurythmics is that the body, the movement, the actual embodiment of the music is music, and it is the instrument that you're playing. And we learn to move more musically. Okay? And when we do that, it develops our musicianship in other ways. In fact, it's universal. So whatever instrument it is that you play later on in your life, whatever vibrating string or vibrating reed or column of air that it is that you're manipulating, you bring your musical instincts to that, which can be developed through movement. So we're developing the inner musician, you inside as a musician, and that translates into more feeling and more natural musicianship. So I hope that helps a little bit. If it's confusing, you can always go to my Substack, musicxt.substack.com. You can see lots of lesson examples there. You can break it down and you can see how I'm trying to apply these principles in an elementary general music setting, as well as other contexts in which I might teach. So I can always recommend to go to a summer training center. There's a good one at Oberlin. There's a good one at Carnegie Mellon. Attend a summer training center and get some experience in the classroom in Dalcroze Rhythmics for you as a musician, not just as a teacher, and find how it improves your feel for music.